Chapter 12:10 Victory. Chapter 12:10 Victory. Boom. Following the terrifying explosion, the endless sea of fire that spanned hundreds of thousands of miles blew up. The sea of fire was cleaved in half and the burning flames subsided to reveal a huge tunnel in the middle. A cold sword light split up the sea of fire and obliterated all the obstacles in its way. It slammed violently into Long Su King without losing any of its power. What? Long Su King's eyes widened in bewilderment. Both of them used the small, but how could their disparity in power be so striking? Bam! The sword light hit Long Su King's scarlet armor. Though the armor was a great defensive treasure that managed to weaken the power of Jian Wushuang's attack by 80%, the remaining power still hurt him. Pfft. Though Long Su King had a strong body, the remaining force in Jian Wushuang's attack still caused him to spit out blood. He was sent tumbling backward in a miserable condition. Just then, a ghost-like figure appeared in front of him. It was Jian Wushuang. The grim-faced Jian Wushuang exuded a startlingly potent killing intent. Majestic power was converging on his right index finger. That was the ancient god power. Third finger of the ancient god, world-shattering. Jian Wushuang roared. He then pointed his right index finger that harbored an intense force at Long Su King. Buzz. The spectral image of a golden-armored ancient god, about 100 feet high, appeared in the sky. The spectral image of the golden-armored ancient god overlooked all living creatures. He gradually lifted his strong right arm and pointed his finger at Long Su King. With a cracking sound, the space around them was crushed into pieces. The space that spanned hundreds of thousands of miles turned into fine dust as the ancient god pointed. The horrible power would even startle universe masters. This was the third finger, a skill unique to the ancient god clan. Now that he had become a 4-star ancient god of imperial kinsmen, Jian Wushuang could finally unleash a hint of this power. The third finger had the power to shatter worlds. No! The terrified Long Su King could not stop his momentum as he was sent flying backward. Neither could he put up any form of resistance. He watched helplessly as the giant gold finger came closer to him and finally hit him. The tremendous ancient god power bombarded Long Su King. The finger continued to hit him until it pressed his body to the ground in the same manner a giant would crush an ant. Crash. The endless ruins below abruptly exploded, creating a sinkhole that was thousands of meters deep and hundreds of thousands of miles wide. Long Su King lied at the bottom of the sinkhole. No sound came from him. It was hard to tell if he was alive or dead. Buzz. The giant gold finger plunged. The spectral image of the golden-armored ancient god gradually vanished, restoring calm in the world. The entire battle fortress fell into silence. The silence, however, lasted only for a brief moment before a violent noise resounded. He won. Palace Master Wushuang won. Ah! He's truly the strongest expert in the green fire world. He's so powerful. So powerful. Humph! Didn't Long Su King say Palace Master Wushuang's strength is disappointing? Didn't he call Palace Master Wushuang a loser? Ah! Go on. I dare him to keep spouting that nonsense. It's obvious that Palace Master Wushuang didn't go all out. He probably just used very little of his power and that was why he was temporarily defeated. Long Su King thought he would win. What a joke. Palace Master Wushuang defeated him twice with his full strength and now he was almost killed. That was a great victory. Inside the battle fortress, the Green Fire World experts caused an uproar. We won. The eyes of the other palace masters, including Samsara Temple Master, gleamed. Ah, did you all see that? That's my junior brother. Bai Hu, Jian Wushuang's third senior brother, cackled among the crowd. Xueling Tian and Purple Mountain who stood next to him were also pleasantly surprised. Their reactions were very different from the reactions of the many Jin Kingdom experts who were also watching the battle from inside the ancient spaceship. Like the Green Fire World experts, they had also seen the outcome. Did Long Su King lose? He's the strongest universe master in our kingdom and has never lost to another universe master since he began serving our monarch. He even defeated the strongest universe master from hostile forces more than 5 million years ago. How could a Dao master defeat him? I heard Jian Wushuang has been cultivating for less than 5,000 years. He really is a genius. Less than 5,000 years? Is he that unbelievably talented? The Jin Kingdom experts were in shock. Even so, Long Su King's defeat did not dampen their morale. After all, their monarch was their real backbone. It would take their monarch's defeat to deliver them a truly crushing blow. The Jian kingdom had seen a great many powerful enemies since its establishment, but its monarch had remained undefeated. The monarch of the Jian kingdom was the real god of its people. The monarch of the Jian kingdom also had a clear look at the battle from the Grand Palace, which was the core of the spaceship. There was an unwitting faint smile on his face. Jian Wushuang has made such great progress in only 80 years. That's impressive. He sighed in admiration. He then turned to look at the aloof girl standing below the platform. Jiaoshi, isn't there a genius in your sect? Who's stronger, he or Jian Wushuang? He casually asked. My senior brother is stronger in terms of raw strength, but Jian Wushuang is surely talented to show that sort of ability in an isolated place like the eternal chaotic world. I don't think that he's weaker than my senior brother, she replied. Oh. The monarch of the Jian kingdom frowned. It's unfortunate that your senior brother isn't here. I'd love to see him fight Jian Wushuang. Lord Jinfeng, how can you joke around when you don't even know if your top fighter is still alive? Shouldn't you think of a countermeasure? Jiaoshi asked, smiling faintly at him. You wanted Long Su King to either defeat or kill Jian Wushuang to demoralize Green Fire Palace. That way you don't even need to use what you've prepared for this war to destroy them. It seems that your plan has fallen through. Chapter 12:11, The Great War Begins. Chapter 12:11, The Great War Begins. Jiaoshi was not a subordinate of the monarch of the Jian kingdom. She simply cooperated with him. She was well aware of his plans. In order to destroy the Green Fire world, he asked her to prepare a great weapon at a high cost. He could easily succeed with the weapon, but he did not want to rashly use it due to the steep price he must pay. His greatest wish was to destroy the Green Fire world without using the weapon. The monarch of the Jian kingdom sneered. Though Long Su's defeat benefited the Green Fire world, I can still easily destroy them with the power I have. He then gave his next order. Go Red Snow. Many experts of the Jian kingdom gathered on the deck of the spaceship were poised to go. Their leader, Red Snow King, wore a grim expression when he received the order from the monarch. I didn't expect Jian Wushuang to defeat Long Su King. Red Snow King sighed and shook his head. Then a terrifying aura erupted from him. He looked at the experts of his kingdom standing behind him. It's showtime, everyone. Let's go. With a wave of his hand, Red Snow King became the first to storm out of the spaceship. A large number of experts followed after him. With eyes that gleamed red and auras that abruptly soared, they charged toward the battle fortress where Green Fire Palace lied like a sea of wasps. The Green Fire World experts noticed them as soon as they exited their spaceship. Here they come. Jian Wushuang stood on the battleground, staring down the approaching Jian Kingdom experts with a cold expression. Inside the battle fortress, the Green Fire World experts stood with their hands clenched as they made their resolutions for the battle. Everyone, here comes the war that will determine the future of Green Fire World. Samsara Temple Master, who stood next to the other palace masters, said loudly, We'll do as planned. Void, Tang Emperor, Sunrise, Red Lotus, Jian Wushuang, and I will fight them with tactical formations that our Dao Masters made. New Palace Masters, stay in the battle fortress with 1,000 Celestial Masters who had just made their breakthrough with life elixirs. We'll try our best to draw the Jian Kingdom experts here. Then I'll give you my command to ambush them. Don't let them run. You'd better injure them heavily with one strike. Yes, the palace masters around him answered, all of them nodding. The Jian Kingdom was unaware that they had more than 10 new Universe Masters and 1,000 new Celestial Masters. This was their trump card. Palace Master Yun. Samsara Temple Master turned to Palace Master Yun, who had just recently become a Universe Master. I'll leave the battle fortress to you as usual. Open the restriction immediately if anyone returns to recover from injuries. Use the divine rays of the north where you see fit. Try and provide support to the experts as much as possible so we can cause the Jian Kingdom the greatest damage. No problem. Palace Master Yun nodded solemnly. In the war against the Jian Kingdom 500 million years ago, he was also in charge of the battle fortress. He was the only one in the entire Green Fire world that could use it so perfectly. Everyone will definitely win this war. Samsara Temple Master roared. We'll definitely win. The numerous palace masters echoed his sentiments with solemn nods. Go. Samsara Temple Master waved his hands and charged into the battlefield. Simultaneously, his loud and solemn voice reverberated in the entire battle fortress. Everyone, come and fight with me. His voice entered everyone's ears and inspired many experts of the Green Fire world. Fight! Fight! Their battle intent skyrocketed so splendidly that the world paled in comparison. Their resolute battle cries echoed in the sky. Fight! 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 Everyone inside the battle fortress responded to Samsara Temple Master's battle cry. Go, Bloodseeker formation! Go, Green Dragon formation! Go, Sky-Splitting formation! Go, God of Underworld formation! Many Dao Masters who had been ready to go, teamed up and quickly formed tactical formations one after another, just as they had rehearsed. Tall and roaring figures leaped up from the battle fortress. There were no less than 1,000 of such massive formations that spread as far as the eye could see. These formations converged all the powers of the Dao Masters, allowing them to unleash a force that was far beyond what they were originally capable of. Then under the leadership of Samsara Temple Master, Void Temple Master, Tang Emperor, Sunrise Sword Emperor and Palace Master Red Lotus, they marched out of the battle fortress to meet the experts from the Jian Kingdom. Jian Wushuang spearheaded the forces of the Green Fire world, making him the one closest to the Jian Kingdom experts. Jian Kingdom. Jian Wushuang's gaze was icy cold as he stared down his enemies. These Jian Kingdom experts were formidable indeed. These were unlikely all of the Jian Kingdom forces, but Red Snow King was still commanding more than 50 Universe Masters and 1,500 Celestial Masters. If this was 80 years ago, the Green Fire Palace would have rendered completely helpless. Things were different now. Jian Wushuang, let me come out, said a deep voice inside Jian Wushuang's mind. Gu King? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. I've been staying in you for long. It's time for me to stretch my limbs, Gu King said. Jian Wushuang was astonished. Gu King had lived inside him for a long time and would typically help him recover his spiritual power or heal his wounds. Seldom did they fight together. The plenilune that was born with Ancient God was known as his closest battle companion. It was only when Ancient God joined hands with plenilune that they could perform their best. As soon as Jian Wushuang held out his hands, Gu King's massive plenilune body appeared in the void. He looked particularly ferocious with scarlet scales and numerous savage tendrils covering his body. Jian Wushuang, do you still remember what we did together in the Kingdom Tang of the Eastern Land? His solemn voice reverberated in Jian Wushuang's ears. Of course. Jian Wushuang smiled as he looked at him. Are you going to do it again? What say you? Gu King also looked at him with his scarlet eyes. They stared at each other. Jian Wushuang's smile widened. Chapter 12:12, A Sharp Warning. Chapter 12:12, A Sharp Warning. Kill, they cried. Kill, more voices chimed in. Kill them, the people were shouting. The battle cry burst forth from the battlefield. Countless experts from the two camps approached each other like wasps. Quietly suspended in the center of the battlefield was an enormous scarlet worm beast with thousands of tentacles. On it stood Jian Wushuang, eyes gleaming and staring straight ahead. Experts from two camps were getting closer to him. It's time. Gu King shouted. Gu King. Jian Wushuang called out. Jian Wushuang shouted. Leave it to me, he screamed. Plenilune's secret skills, howling to sky. Gu King cried out. Gu King roared when the horrible aura leaped up from his huge body. He opened his bloody mouth and took a deep breath. The roar broke out so violently that everything in the universe trembled. Hoot, he cried. With a hint of sharpness, the roar rocked everything in the universe, even vibrating time and space. The world was shaken in the blink of an eye. When Gu King was roaring, a faint fire of soul also burned fiercely in Jian Wushuang's sea of consciousness. In an instant, a vast strength of soul burst out. Ancient God's secret skill. Mind-controlling. Shouted Gu King. The same mind-controlling secret skill turned into a horrible soul attack with Gu King's roar when it was combined with strength of soul. Sound waves that were visible to the human eye kept being released and amplified. They rushed towards experts of the Gold Kingdom in heavy waves. Experts of the Gold Kingdom had been attacked even before the battle started. These waves contained sound wave attack and the horrible soul attack. They attacked separately but were still damaging. More than 50 Universe Masters of the Gold Kingdom trembled under the heavy attack, but soon returned to normal. However, more than 90% of the 1,500 Holy Masters were immediately struck into dullness. They stood still like idiots. Damn, the Red Snow King shouted, changing his expression. The battle was underway, and already over 90% of his holy masters were unresponsive. This could be a disaster for the Gold Kingdom. "Kill!" screamed Jian Wushuang. "Kill!" cried Gu King. None of experts from the Green Fire world were affected. In the blink of an eye, huge tactical formations rushed into the Gold Kingdom's camp, bringing with them horrible power. The holy masters, who were still stuck in a daze, could not react at all. Ch, 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 boom, thundered all around. Right at this moment, while over 90% of the holy masters were in a daze, the experts of the Green Fire world rushed onto the battlefield and slaughtered willfully. In one breath, they had killed over 400 holy masters. "Damn it!" cried the Red Snow King. "Bastard!" another master shouted. The universe masters of the Gold Kingdom started cursing. The holy masters who had not been killed yet regained consciousness, but were still in a state of shock. Obviously, experts from the Green Fire world could not help being overjoyed. "Aha, Jian Wushuang, well done," one of them shouted. "Well done," said another. "Impressive, Your Highness," cried yet another. So many people shouted that Jian Wushuang could not recognize their individual voices. He was also overjoyed when he saw that over 400 holy masters of the Gold Kingdom had been exterminated. 400 holy masters, he said, satisfied. The Gold Kingdom had many holy masters, but it was still a great loss when 400 of them were killed. Most importantly, they had been killed even before the battle had started. This was a sharp warning. Besides, Jian Wushuang had managed to beat Long Su King perfectly. Experts from the Green Fire world joined in the rising morale. "Gu King, let's go," Jian Wushuang said. "Okay," Gu King answered and nodded. His enormous body rushed out towards the front of the battlefield. Jian Wushuang fixed his gaze at the most central battlefield, knowing clearly what he should do. Our tactical formations of Holy Masters' battle strength is at the Holy Master level. They were almost able to fight the Holy Masters of the Gold Kingdom. It was essential to fight their Universe Masters, Jian Wushuang said with a cold look. Speaking of Universe Masters, the Green Fire world had only 6, including him. There were less than 20 huge tactical formations capable of battle strength at the Universe Master level. The Gold Kingdom, however, had more than 50 Universe Masters. Long Su King was badly injured and is hovering between life and death. Their monarch didn't show up. "No one in their camp can resist me," Gu King said. "While I can still fight freely, I must kill as many Universe Masters as possible to weaken their battle strength," Jian Wushuang said. Jian Wushuang was bursting with killing intent. His eyes locked on a red-robed woman far away who was carrying a scarlet scythe. She was a Universe Master of the Gold Kingdom. "Kill," he chanted. Jian Wushuang growled, jumped off of Gu King's body and quietly floated outward. "You want to stop me with such weak tactical formations? Naive," laughed the woman. The red-robed woman looked cold with amazing killing intent in her eyes. She was fighting a Bloodseeker tactical formation formed by thousands of Dao Masters who were in implied agreement with each other. A Bloodseeker created in battle was able to fight Universe Masters. The Bloodseeker was the same as normal Universe Masters in either power or defense, and even a little stronger than some ordinary ones. It moved slowly though. The red-robed woman held the scarlet scythe and floated quickly, making fun of the Bloodseeker. "I'm not playing anymore. You losers can go to hell," she shrieked. The red-robed woman looked cold, and the scarlet scythe in her hand gleamed with frost. She floated and quickly came to the head of the huge Bloodseeker. She raised the scarlet scythe, stabbing directly at the space between the eyebrows. Unexpectedly, a gust of wind came from behind. "What?" she said, shocked, and quickly turned around. She saw a dazzling sword light and the figure of the scarlet-robed man who used the sword. "Jian Wushuang," the red-robed woman shouted with great fear. From the spaceship, she had seen how Jian Wushuang had defeated Long Su King. Even Long Su King was utterly defeated by Jian Wushuang. What could she do? Chapter 12-13 Horrible Jian Wushuang. Chapter 12-13 Horrible Jian Wushuang. "Run!" the red-robed woman shouted as she began to flee immediately. "Run? Can you?" asked Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang had a great killing intent. His sword light dashed out and influenced the surrounding spacetime. He instantly appeared behind her. "Why are you so fast?" she asked with her eyes wide open. She tried her best to resist. There was a gust of wind when her body was pierced. Her corpse fell downward slowly. "First blood," shouted Jian Wushuang. With a glint in his eyes, he floated outwards again. In a flash, he appeared behind a gray-robed elder. With a roaring killing intent, red clouds rolled onto the elder. He sensed when Jian Wushuang showed up and immediately waved his hand to conjure a huge red cloud that rushed towards Jian Wushuang. "Humph," the elder said. Jian Wushuang sneered. Under the influence of ancient god power, he was able to use the power of stage 2 blood-killing armor. 3 waves. Jian Wushuang shouted. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 sword shadows immediately rushed out from Jian Wushuang. They combined with each other and rushed together like 3 waves. Bang. The first wave directly hit and dispersed the red cloud created by the gray-robed elder. Dung. The second wave collided with his hand, making it shiver slightly inside his red glove. Then his entire arm bent. Swish. The third wave pierced his throat effortlessly. Before he died, he opened his eyes wide with disbelief. "Second," shouted Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang didn't intend to stop after he killed the gray-robed elder. Immediately he rushed behind a 2-meter-tall man. "Third," he cried. In a second, the tall man, who was of Universe Master level, was also killed by Jian Wushuang. "The fourth," Jian Wushuang shouted after killing another. "The fifth," he continued. There were too many experts in the battle, messing up the fight. Jian Wushuang just kept slaughtering experts of the Gold Kingdom, using his absolute strength and swordsmanship. At this point, he had already killed 6 Universe Masters and dozens of Holy Masters. This all in a brief moment. Experts of the Gold Kingdom were not blind. They were appalled to see Jian Wushuang killing 6 Universe Masters so quickly. It was horrible. Jian Wushuang kept killing experts of the Gold Kingdom, as if he were the god of death. No one could survive once targeted. Jian Wushuang also managed to kill several Universe Masters. "That's too powerful," an expert of the Gold Kingdom cried. "How did this happen?" asked another. "We're Universe Masters too. We may be a little weaker, but we shouldn't be killed so easily, should we?" a third questioned. "Even Long Su King can't kill us this easily, but Jian Wushuang," said the first. All of the experts were frightened, both from the Gold Kingdom and the Green Fire world. Normally, Universe Masters were powerful, had outstanding skills, and were also good at surviving. They could at least manage to run away if they met someone stronger. However, Universe Masters of the Gold Kingdom were shocked to realize that Jian Wushuang could kill them easily, as if they were merely Holy Masters or Dao Masters. Jian Wushuang killed Holy Masters as easy as blowing off dust. Unexpectedly, he also killed Universe Master with just 1 strike. They did not even have a chance to strike back. They would be dead as soon as they were targeted. They did not know that Jian Wushuang was not only strong, but also fast with his swordplay of spacetime. Whenever he used his swordsmanship, he could affect spacetime at a terrifying pace, and no other Universe Master present could compete. Besides, he had soul attack in harmony. He had worked with Gu King to use it on many people. Universe Masters could undoubtedly resist. If he attacked Universe Masters one by one with the soul attack, none of them would find it hard to resist. Even if they could, they would be slow thinking. It would be then that Jian Wushuang would kill them. With swordplay of spacetime, soul attack, and my swordsmanship, I can now slaughter all ordinary Universe Masters, Jian Wushuang said with a cold look. This frenzied slaughter made the experts from the Gold Kingdom shudder with fear, but soon they realized how to fight back. "We must stop him from slaughtering," one expert cried. "Stop him. We must stop him," added another. "Horrible. He's so fast. If we don't stop him, it won't be long before he kills all our Universe Masters," said a third expert. "Tianxin King, Mo King, Donglong King, Gumu King, go and stop him," ordered the first. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. 4 people rushed over and surrounded Jian Wushuang. Said Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang stared at them, 4 males and 1 female. Compared to the ordinary Universe Masters, they looked even more powerful, with much stronger auras. Well, the Gold Kingdom has something. In the Green Fire Palace, only Samsara Temple Master and I have the peak battle strength of Universe Master. The Gold Kingdom sent 4 peak Universe Masters so easily, Jian Wushuang secretly sighed. The 4 Universe Masters who had put some pressure on him were obviously peak experts. Jian Wushuang, you're not going to keep slaughtering, the female universe master said coldly. Really? Jian Wushuang replied smilingly. Show me, he said. As soon as his voice faded away, he rushed out again. Instead of rushing at the four of them, he headed for the void nearby. Apparently he did not intend to tangle with them. On the contrary, he wanted to seize his chance to kill as many experts of the Gold Kingdom as he could. The female master said. Gumu King sneered as her green silk ribbon turned into an unceasing flow of rivers which pierced through the void and rushed towards Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang used a strange illusion skill, giving several residual shadows out in the void. He easily dodged the silk ribbon. As soon as he stood still, he sensed a wind-breaking sound from behind him. A faint, spectral image of a heavy sword covering thousands of miles rushed directly towards him. Jian Wushuang squinted and brandished his sword. He used the first move of the Heaven's Bane. It was so powerful that it crashed the spectral image of the huge sword with just a turn of his hand. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The four peak universe masters appeared again, surrounding Jian Wushuang. Chapter 12:14 Tragic. Chapter 12:14 Tragic. Jian Wushuang, like I said, you have no chance, Gumu King growled. Impressive, Jian Wushuang said, looking surprised. Let's do it together, Gumu King gave an order coldly. The four peak universe masters around him started right away. Gumu King waved her silk ribbon, which attacked Jian Wushuang like a snake. Mo King waved the heavy sword, which was huge enough to cover half of the void. Donglong King looked cold and rushed out, like a flash of lightning. His hand suddenly turned into a dragon's claw and came down. Tianqin King waved his long stick. All of them were straining as hard as they could. Get out of the way, Jian Wushuang shouted, panicking. With cold eyes, Jian Wushuang burst out with sword essence. The whole world abruptly turned dark. Sword light struck like the first light of morning dawn. Bang! It crushed all the moves of the four peak universe masters in a flash. What? Said Gumu King. Our joint offensive was smashed in a twinkling? Asked Mo King. No wonder he defeated Long Su King, cried Donglong King. The four peak universe masters spoke in wonderment. After smashing their offensive, the stroke of dawn remained powerful and rushed directly at Gumu King. Whoosh! Someone rushed and stood in front of her. Tianqin King. Gumu King's eyes lit up. Leave it to me, Tianqin King said with a somber look. Suddenly, a golden halo appeared, forming a golden bell over Tianqin King. Another golden bell inside him began to shudder like crazy, bursting out with a dazzling golden light. Clang! The stroke of dawn hit the golden bell. Its golden halo faded, but returned back to normal after a few minutes. Jian Wushuang asked in confusion, slightly changing his expression. I didn't expect them to have such a protection treasure. This is a problem, he thought to himself. In one-on-one fights, Jian Wushuang was confident he could beat and even kill them. Unexpectedly, they attacked him together, however. They were good at attacking, tying, rushing, and offending respectively. They cooperated with each other in perfect unison. Even Jian Wushuang found it hard to beat them quickly. What was worse, they were determined to hold him up so that he could not get away. Well, then I have do this, thought Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang squinted and trembled. Soon the second original body appeared out of nowhere, followed by Gu King, who rushed over to help. He headed directly for other battlefields. That's a doppelganger? They said in unison, all shocked. Indeed. We managed to stop him with some effort. I don't think it's possible to stop his doppelganger at the same time though, Mo King said in a low voice. Normally, a doppelganger has a weaker battle strength than the original body. All we need to do is to stop him. Leave the doppelganger to the others, Gumu King said seriously and then added, let's go. Swoosh. Again the four peak universe masters rushed towards Jian Wushuang. His first original body also went up. The first original body was stopped. However, his second original body was still fighting on the battlefield freely. Without the blood-killing armor, the second original body was stronger than ordinary peak universe masters, but not as strong as supreme ones. The cooperation of Gu King still enabled him to fight in every direction on the battlefield. However, he failed to fight as fiercely as he had before. On the large battlefield, the experts from the two camps fought at close quarters. The battle reached a white-hot stage. Jian Wushuang had worked with Gu King to kill more than 400 holy masters in one stroke. Besides that, many other experts were slaughtered by him. The Gold Kingdom was absolutely terrified. When Jian Wushuang's first original body was stopped, the Gold Kingdom gradually recovered from the shock. Afterwards, the difference in overall strength between two camps was revealed. Even if more than 400 Holy Master had been killed, the remaining Holy Masters of the Gold Kingdom were not inferior to those of the Green Fire world. Their Universe Masters were still stronger. As the killing got more and more fierce, the Gold Kingdom looked more and more advanced. "Come on and kill them," Hongshui King shouted. Hongshui King laughed and pierced his long spear through the void mercilessly. Blood-speckled snow fell when his spear upon a large green dragon tactical formation and pierced through its vast body smoothly. Boom! The giant green dragon fell apart. Thousands of Dao Masters who formed the tactical formation suddenly scattered and ran in fear. The Red Snow King pierced again, unleashing horrible power that killed almost half of them. Only a few Dao Masters managed to flee. They desperately fled towards the battle fortress. Unfortunately, few of them succeeded to enter. A tactical formation could be very powerful, enabling Holy Masters to fight powerfully. There was, however, a fatal flaw. As soon as a tactical formation broke down, the Holy Masters could not quickly reform again. They could do nothing except be slaughtered. Ever since the war had begun, the Holy Masters of the Green Fire world had formed thousands of tactical formations. Now a third of them had broken down. Over 80% of the Holy Masters involved had been killed mercilessly. Without the tactical formation, the Holy Masters may easily be killed unintentionally, even if they weren't targeted. Tragic. It was tragic for the entire battlefield. Experts from both sides were crazy. "Ah, they're worn out. Go and kill them," shouted the Red Snow King. The roaring of the Red Snow King reverberated over the sky. The experts on his side also roared, which boosted their morale. On the contrary, the Green Fire world seemed to be defeated. "All right, time to retreat," said a master from the Green Fire world. Samsara Temple Master watched this coldly. He gave an order. "Retreat," he shouted. "Back to the battle fortress," he continued. At his command, experts of the Green Fire world, including large tactical formations, immediately left their opponents and returned to the hold of the battle fortress at an amazing pace. The two original bodies of Jian Wushuang also turned and left. Chapter 12:15 broke out. Chapter 12:15 broke out. "Run? Can you?" shouted Samsara Temple Master. "Let no one leave. Go and kill all of them," screamed the Red Snow King. Red Snow King went into hysterics. Other experts of the Gold Kingdom growled and hunted enemies down with scarlet faces. They realized that the Green Fire world was now retreating. They could catch them with a blow like hitting a drowning dog. In the camp of the Gold Kingdom, the experts were in a serious rage filled with killing intent. The experts of the Green Fire world were fleeing. Samsara Temple Master looked cold, but he remained calm. He glanced at the enemies frantically hunting his experts, and his eyes gleamed in amazement. "Your Highness, they're now inside the attack range of Divine Rays of the North," Palace Master Yun reported. "The Palace Masters and the Masters in the Battle Fortress have been fully prepared," he continued. "Good. Stay for my order," Samsara Temple Master said. "Yes," Palace Master Yun replied. "Red Lotus, are you ready?" Samsara Temple Master asked through a message. "Yes. With the help of 3 7-star soul-seizing cores, I will unleash the greatest power freely," Red Lotus replied. "Great," Samsara Temple Master praised, his eyes gleaming. Having hesitated for a while, he took out the message token for Jian Wushuang. "Jian Wushuang, can you do the old trick again?" he asked. "The old trick?" Jian Wushuang asked. Obviously he knew what Samsara Temple Master meant. Jian Wushuang tell him yes. "You can do it again," Gu King said to him. "Yes," Jian Wushuang immediately replied to Samsara Temple Master. "Yes." Samsara Temple Master was amazed. "Great. Do it at my command," he said. "Okay," Jian Wushuang replied and nodded. "Everything is ready. Now we're just waiting for the enemies," Samsara Temple Master said excitedly. In the battle fortress, the remaining dozen palace masters and thousands of holy masters gathered under the restriction. Among them were Emperor Shao, Emperor Yun and his senior brother Shui Lingtian, all acquaintances of Jian Wushuang. They waited quietly, but they could not help roaring on the inside. This was where they had been staying since the war had begun. They watched everything but none of them made a move. They kept waiting, saving up their strength for the final stroke. On the battlefield, experts of the Green Fire world were fleeing in chaos, chased by those of the Gold Kingdom. As they ran, they came closer to the battle fortress. 30,000 miles. 24,000 miles. 15,000 miles. Soon, the experts of the Gold Kingdom were less than 3,000 miles away from the battle fortress. Even an ordinary Dao master could cover 3,000 miles in a second. The experts inside the battle fortress could easily dash out in a flash when the enemies had almost no time to resist. It was perfect timing. Go! Samsara Temple Master ordered. As Samsara Temple Master shouted, he gave the order to Palace Master Jian as well as the Palace Masters and the Holy Masters who were waiting in the battle fortress. This order also went to Palace Master Red Lotus and Jian Wushuang. When the order arrived on the battlefield, Red Lotus swallowed an aquamarine elixir. Her robe and hair floated, giving out a horrible aura. The scarlet bracelet she had been wearing also glowed brightly. A giant blood river raged out from it. Splash! The blood river rose in a tide surging directly towards the battlefield and covered thousands of miles. Everyone on the battlefield was covered by the blood river. Jianghu Realm Press, shouted Red Lotus. The horrible pressure, like from a bomb, burst out immediately. Experts of the Gold Kingdom, who had been on the chase, suddenly stopped as if stuck in a quagmire. Both their speed and power were suddenly hindered. What? They cried out. It was so shocking that they were stuck in the realm pressure before they realized what was happening. Meanwhile, the restriction inside the battle fortress was started suddenly. A golden brilliancy roared up. Impressively, it was a golden mirror, giving off an ancient aura. Inside the mirror, rays of golden light were encapsulated. Followed by swish, 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 swish. Dozens of golden beams burst out. They were divine rays of the north equipped for the battle fortress. 18 divine rays of the north, in total, moved faster than anyone could imagine. In a flash, they arrived at the camp of the Gold Kingdom and covered 18 of their experts at the forefront. There were 8 universe masters among them, and all of them were immediately pierced as soon as divine rays of the north reached them. Passing through them, the rays continued to attack the experts behind them. The divine rays of the north were so overwhelming that all of the experts of the Gold Kingdom were killed as soon as they were targeted. They did not even have a chance to fight back. The 18 divine rays of the north dissipated in an instant, having smashed the 8 universe masters and dozens of holy masters behind them. On top of that, dozens of palace masters and holy masters, who had been ready to go inside the battle fortress, rushed out with the divine rays of the north. Kill, they shouted. Kill, they shouted again. The roar of killing reverberated throughout the area. Several figures with bursting auras appeared before the experts from the Gold Kingdom. Their faces were distorted with astonishment. The Red Snow King especially looked scared, as if he had seen a ghost. Dozens of universe masters and thousands of holy masters? He said in shock. How is this possible? He asked. Since when did the Green Fire Palace have so many experts? He continued. Red Snow King looked incredulous. On the other side of the battlefield, Jian Wushuang suddenly turned around as the palace masters and the holy masters rushed out. Gu King. Jian Wushuang said. I'm ready. Gu King replied in a loud voice. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed with sharpness and instantly. Ancient God secret skill. Mind controlling. Shouted Gu King. Plenilune secret skills? Roaring. Said Jian Wushuang. The roar of Plenilune and wrath of the ancient God fell again. What an earth-shaking moment. Chapter 12:16, The First Triumph. Chapter 12:16, The First Triumph. Too sudden. Everything happened too quickly. The sudden change had caught plenty of experts of the Jian Kingdom stunned, and there was no time for them to react. But the tide of the battle had greatly shifted. The experts of the Jian Kingdom were all trapped within the Jianghu domain. The 18 streams of the divine rays of the north shone instantly and wounded the experts of the Jian Kingdom. Noticing their cue, the palace masters and holy masters sprang into action, throwing themselves at their quarries like pouncing predators. The forces of the Jian Kingdom had been pursuing those from the Green Fire world earlier. This had brought them into the range of barely thousands of kilometers from the battle fortress, allowing the ambushing masters to rain death upon them in such a short distance. Jian Wushuang joined hands with the Gu King, unleashing the same technique again. It was a total annihilation of the experts of the Jian kingdom. Retaliation. Get back at them immediately. Kill them all. Slay them all. Spare no quarter. The experts of the Green Fire world who formerly had been routed turned back and mounted deadly reprisal. The ambush had confounded most of the holy masters of the Jian kingdom. Without even realizing that the tables have been turned, many of them lost their lives by the Green Fire world experts' tide of vengeance. Some who had been fortunate to survive the first wave of onslaught were only catching their breath when the Green Fire world's experts fighting back had surprised them. They were earlier defeated, routed by them. But all of a sudden, how the tides of the battle directly changed. Boom, 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 boom. The cacophony of the destruction and carnage thundered across the battlefield. The experts of the Jian kingdom had lost a third of their number in just a simple confrontation. With the enhancement effects of the Jianghu domain and the divine rays of the north, the host of the Green Fire world continued pushing ahead the wave of death, the merciless onslaught of butchery spreading towards the survivors whose will to fight immediately smothered. Damn. It is a trap. It is an ambush set by the Green Fire world. Retreat. Retreat at once. The Hong Shui king sounded his retreat, while his livid roars could be clearly heard from afar. The survivors of the ambush retreated frantically. It was apparent that they had fallen face first into the ambush nicely set by the Green Fire world. The Green Fire world had divided part of their forces, concealing the bulk of them whilst using only the splintered group as decoys to lure their enemies closer to the battle fortress. When the enemies had come near, the experts and the masters sprung their trap, delivering a swift and deadly blow into swiftly to defeat their enemies. Damn. From whence did the experts of the Green Fire world come from actually? The Hong Shui king could hardly suppress his anger. He knew full well the powers and effects of the Jianghu realm and the divine rays of the north. But he had hardly anticipated that the experts of the Green Fire world had wielded such strength and valor. How was it possible that the Green Fire world had birthed more than 10 universe masters and more than 1,000 holy masters in just a span of 8 decades? We've lost. The Jian kingdom has utterly lost. It was now the armies of the Green Fire world who were now slaughtering and butchering what was left of the Jian kingdom's armies. What had been a thrashing of the armies of the Green Fire world by the experts of the Jian kingdom had instead turned out to be a total rout of the latter by the former. A good many of the experts of the Jian kingdom had not been able to escape the grim fate of death that awaited them in the complete annihilation of the forces of the Jian kingdom. Just then, "What's this?" The Samsara temple master, who was also at the battlefield, felt a sudden tingle to his senses. He looked far away in the distance and saw a great number of experts pouring out from the ancient spaceship at the farthest distance. The experts swarmed in a huge pack, racing speedily towards them. "Halt! Hold your horses!" The Samsara temple master commanded out aloud. Despite feeling displeased to be deprived of their chance to further exact retribution, the experts of the Green Fire world nevertheless relented to the will of their leader and promptly stopped. "Let us retreat." With a wave of his arm, the Samsara temple master beckoned to his men. The experts of the Green Fire world immediately fell back and returned into the hold of the battle fortress. The reinforcements of the Jian kingdom swiftly joined up with the survivors of the ambush and escorted them back to their spaceship. This brought down the curtains for the first confrontation of the war between the Green Fire world and the Jian kingdom. Within the holds of the battle fortress. "We've won. A huge victory. We have claimed the win for the first battle." Ah! The rest of the survivors would have also perished if not for the timely appearance of their reinforcements. Savage yells and jubilant howls of celebration could be heard everywhere in the battle fortress. The Green Fire world had indeed claimed first blood in their first battle. It was not only a victory, but a complete rout of their foes. The palace masters huddled together in revelry. "This is exciting. It has been quite some time since I have enjoyed such exhilaration. Ah! The scoundrels from the Jian kingdom have underestimated our forces, allowing us to mount an ambush which had crippled their legions with only one strike. It was all thanks to the impeccable battle plans and strategies drawn up for this battle. Much of the credit should also go to Palace Master Wushuang." Indeed. The 2 sonic wave attacks performed by Palace Master Wushuang and his worm beast have thrown the enemies into confusion, buying us 2 precious opportunities to launch critical assaults onto them. Moreover, his triumph against King Longshu has greatly lifted the morale of our armies. There would not be such a great victory without Palace Master Wushuang. The Palace Masters continued their hearty discussions about their win. Elsewhere, Jian Wushuang himself stayed with the Samsara Temple Master and the Void Temple Master. This is the first in 5 million years that the Green Fire World has achieved victory against the forces of the Jian Kingdom. The Samsara Temple Master mused as he laughed, but even in our last victory 5 million years ago, we won the gritty battle only because of the battle fortress. This time we have won. Even against the main force of the legions of the Jian Kingdom. Standing together, Jian Wushuang, the Void Temple Master, the Sunrise Sword Emperor, and Red Lotus all shared a smile. Then again, there is hardly any margin for hubris and arrogance. This is only the first confrontation. While this could be only a test by the forces of the Jian Kingdom, we have shown them the full extent of our might. The victory itself was secured by the use of strategy and deception. It is still a fact that the Jian Kingdom still has strengths greater than us. The Samsara Temple Master continued. Jian Wushuang and the others nodded in agreement. They would hardly be proud with only a win. It was no secret to them that this was merely a test by the forces of the Jian Kingdom. This could well be proven by the fact that the monarch of the Jian Kingdom's absence from the battlefield. Masters. The Tang Emperor appeared out of the thin air. You have a count of our casualties? The Samsara Temple Master looked at him inquiringly. That is so. The Tang Emperor nodded grimly. Noticing his expression, Jian Wushuang and the others instantly understood that he had come bearing ill news. How was it? The Samsara Temple Master pressed. We may have won the battle, but at the cost of terrible losses. The Tang Emperor explained. Chapter 12:17 Casualties. Chapter 12:17 Casualties. The Palace Masters, including Jian Wushuang and the Samsara Temple Master, all had their breaths held as the weight of the Tang Emperor's words sank in. As you well know, we do not have many Universe Master. To make up for the lack of strength, we have bolstered their ranks with tactical formations in place. With most of the Masters adept in protecting themselves, we have lost one Universe Master and another got badly injured. The rest is still able for battle. One dead and another wounded? The Palace Masters around nodded gently. It was still a loss that they could tolerate. Despite their tactical advantage in the ambush, it was a deadly and difficult battle nonetheless that would have claimed several more lives of the Universe Masters. The 6 of the senior Palace Masters of the Green Fire World, save for Jian Wushuang, were greatly experienced masters who had extensive stores of treasures and artifacts that could have protected them from harm. The perils of the last battle would hardly have endangered their lives. The rest of the other Palace Masters had struck in unison during the ambush, striking a fatal blow so heavy that the forces of the Jian Kingdom were astounded with shock. This had essentially stripped the victims of the ambush of all their abilities to retaliate, allowing the Universe Masters of the Green Fire World to strike without suffering much damage. Thus only one Universe Master was lost and another wounded by the desperate reprisals of the victims. The death of one Universe Master would be considered as negligible in comparison with the heavy losses of the many Universe Masters of the Jian Kingdom. But we have lost a total of 136 Holy Masters in this battle. Tang Emperor announced gravely. What? That many of them? Jian Wushuang and his comrades were stunned with shock. But they could only shake their heads in bereavement. It could be safely assumed that the loss of 136 Holy Masters had occurred when their men were luring the forces of the Jian Kingdom into their trap. Although these Holy Masters had fallen in battle, their enemies had also paid a more dire price in return. The Jian Kingdom had suffered even greater losses themselves. How about the Dao Masters? Jian Wushuang asked. There had been one wounded Universe Master and one other dead. 136 Holy Masters had perished. But how about the Dao Masters? The contingent of Dao Masters was of the utmost importance to them, because it was the Dao Masters who formed the backbone of the tactical formations in the last battle, the main force of the forces of the Green Fire World. Nevertheless, it was the tactical formations that had suffered the brunt of the Jian Kingdom's attack earlier. Our losses of the Dao Masters are terrible. The Tang Emperor clasped his wrist tightly as his voice grew hoarse, saying, I have made some calculations. More than 35,000 Dao Masters of our side have been killed in the last battle, with another more than 10,000 heavily wounded. Not even healing elixirs would be able to restore them into proper battle strength in a short time. We have lost a quarter of our force in this battle. 40,000 of our Tao masters are either dead or dying. What? It was ill tidings that had come with the heaviness of the blow from a hammer. Everyone was startled by the grim news. 40,000 men. And only at their first battle, a test that the Jian kingdom had done to assess their strength, the Green Fire world had lost 40,000 Tao masters. Could this really be hailed as a great victory? This was a most devastating loss to them. How is this possible? We have such a great number of our Tao masters lost. Jian Wushuang frowned with shock as even his body trembled. Beside him, the Samsara temple master merely exhaled lightly and said, "The Tao masters, if unified together into formations, would be a formidable fighting force in battle. But if the formation is broken, the scattered masters would hardly be able to survive the onslaught of the enemy's forces, much less making it into the safety of the battle fortress. It is hardly surprising that many of them could not survive. It pains me to admit, but the Tao masters are as good as cannon fodders. We hardly have any choice. The victory of this war will determine the fate of all the lives in the Green Fire world. We need the battle strength of these Tao masters to weather this storm. Everything is for the survival of the Green Fire world." The Samsara temple master clenched his fists tightly. Beside him, Jian Wushuang and the other palace masters wore an expression most grim and morose. They knew that it would be a difficult and bloody battle. It would be a battle so deadly that there might not be even 1 out of every 10 Tao masters would survive this struggle. Yet, deprived of other options, they had no choice but to let these Tao masters fight. The Green Fire world had to gather all its strength and resources in order to endure the adversity posed by the Jian kingdom. We have lost many comrades in this battle, most notably the comrades from the ranks of our Tao masters. But their sacrifice will not be for nothing. The Tang Emperor swore throatily, "My calculations of the casualties of this battle have also included an approximate number of the men that the Jian kingdom has lost as well. They have sent more than 50 universe masters and more than 1,500 holy masters in this battle. But not more than 20 universe masters and not more than 500 holy masters survived. In this battle, we of the Green Fire world have slain more than 20 universe masters and more than 1,000 holy masters of the Jian kingdom. This is a bite that even the great monarch of their kingdom will find it hard to bear." The Tang Emperor's words roused everyone present from their mournful bewilderment. Indeed, most of the forces of the Green Fire world have been lost, but the Jian kingdom had suffered an even more devastating damage. More than 30 universe masters from their number had fallen. Among them, there were more than 10 who had been slain by Jian Wushuang alone. In addition to the more than 1,000 dead holy masters, the casualty of this battle was a cost that would be very difficult for the Jian kingdom to stomach. In one way or another, this is undeniably a victory for us. But victory in war does not come without sacrifice. The deaths of our comrades are unavoidable. The Samsara temple master said. Indeed. The other palace masters present nodded in agreement. Go. Do what you should. The Samsara temple master turned around. Sunrise Sword Emperor and Red Lotus, I would like you both to reorganize the battle formations manned by the Tao masters. The Jian kingdom will never relent, not especially after suffering such a terrible defeat. The next confrontation will not be far behind. We must be prepared by then. Understood. The Sunrise Sword Emperor and the Palace Master called Red Lotus nodded and retreated. The rest of the Palace Masters then took their leave and left. At the same time, within the decks of the spaceship far away from the battle fortress, the Hong Shui King knelt before the monarch of the Jian kingdom in a huge chamber as fear and panic were evident upon his face. He knew full well of the terrible loss that he had incurred in his battle. More so, it was he who was in command of the forces of the Jian kingdom. Chapter 12:18 Secret Weapon? Chapter 12:18 Secret Weapon? You have reported to me before the battle that the Green Fire world would at most be able to field 6 universe masters including Jian Wushuang. You have assured me that they would not have more than 200 holy masters. I would need you to explain from where did the rest of the universe and holy masters come from, Red Snow King. Seated upon his throne with immense dignity, the monarch of the Jian kingdom held the Red Snow King in his gaze, revealing no emotion from him as he spoke with a steely calm tone. Yet, the Red Snow King could clearly feel the invisible threat beneath the apparently disinterested demeanor of his liege, as if a blade was being held over his throat. He knew full well that a single word uttered carelessly and wrongly would see him cruelly put to death by the monarch. My liege. The Red Snow King was on the verge of a total panic. Desperately, he pleaded, my calculations had been true then, my lord. They only have 6 universe masters and less than 200 holy masters then. I know. It must be the Dan Xian Palace. Yes. They must be behind this. The Dan Xian Palace? The monarch leaned down from his throne. Not long before this great battlefield, a faction had risen to defy us. They called themselves the Dan Xian Palace, and they have since begun to stir us, of the Jian Kingdom, to fight against the Green Fire World. The Dan Xian Palace has great stores of elixirs and potions. During their early days, the spirit of the Dan Xian Palace had once carelessly scattered several hundreds of life elixirs and even 6 nirvana elixirs. Clearly, such expense is hardly heavy to them. Somebody from the Green Fire World must have communicated with the Dan Xian Palace and procured a huge supply of elixirs from them. This must be it. That must be the reason for the huge increase in their powers. The Red Snow King explained frantically. Is that so? The brows of the monarch rose inquiringly. He wore a smile as he mused to himself, so there's even a depository of elixirs here on this battlefield. This is interesting. If only we can fully claim dominion over this entire battlefield. From thereafter. His voice trailed off, but the eyes of the monarch flared with ambition and hunger. Very well. Despite the terrible losses, the blame for failure is not upon you. You shall be absolved of all punishment. Leave us. The monarch dismissed the Red Snow King with a wave of his hand. My greatest thanks, sire. The Red Snow King thanked his ruler profusely before he left with joy, glad that his life was still his. Long Su. The monarch's gaze fell on to another person who has been present, the Long Su King. Sire? The Long Su King acknowledged. The Long Su King was pale, his face completely bloodless and his aura severely weakened. It is rare to see you in such weakened state. The monarch looked down at him, studying him with mild interest. It's my fault to underestimate them. I have been remiss not to anticipate Jian Wushuang to conceal his strength. The sudden burst has caught me off guard, paving way for my defeat. But if I have another chance? His glare turned cold with malice. You are no match for him now. You would, at most, suffer a less humiliating defeat. But a defeat nonetheless, even if you are granted another chance. The monarch sighed. The monarch had not appeared on to the battle himself. But he had seen with his own eyes the gritting exchange of blows between the Long Su King and Jian Wushuang. It was clear to him that the Long Su King was lesser in skills in comparison to his adversary. You have been badly injured. It is fortunate that you were able to return alive. Have some rest and restore your powers. You will no longer need to be troubled for now. The monarch commanded. Yes, my liege. Despite his discontent, he accepted the command of the monarch. He was fully aware of the state of his health, knowing fully that his wounds would take time to heal. No one else was left in the majestic hall, save for the monarch himself and the quiet and elegant female Jiaoshi. Jiaoshi. The monarch turned to her, calling her. What are your commands, Lord Jian Feng? Jiaoshi asked the monarch coolly. The strength of the forces of the Green Fire World has exceeded our expectations. Moreover, they still have control of the battle fortress. I am afraid that even I myself may not be able to fully vanquish them. It seems that some prices must be paid for the utter domination of this battlefield. The monarch brooded aloud. You mean you would intend to use the secret weapon, Lord Jian Feng? The eyes of Jiaoshi gleamed suddenly with anticipation. Yes. The eyes of the monarch that glowed faintly with a golden blush burrowed deep into Jiaoshi. We will run the course just as planned. You will receive an additional 1/10 of the rewards when success is at hand. 1/10? No. Jiaoshi smiled wickedly as she shook her head. I want 3 times of what we have agreed before. The glare of the monarch turned cold instantly, dosed with suppressed wrath and ferocity. Do you know what are you talking about, Jiaoshi? Of course I do. Jiaoshi smiled mockingly and said, I have not fully comprehended the true worth of this battlefield when you ask for my help, Lord Jian Feng. But now that I have seen it myself, there might still be more secrets of this battlefield still elusive from my knowledge, but one thing is certain. This is a land of bounty. A huge bounty which would have driven even my sect insane with awe at its riches. This is a tremendous trove of riches and wealth that you are sitting on, Lord Jian Feng. One that you alone would enjoy. I ask only 3 times of my agreed reward. Surely that is a mere speck if compared to the immensity of the value of this battlefield put together. You dare bargain with me? The monarch's glare turned frosty and threatening. Do you not fear that I would have you disposed of once you have outgrown your usefulness? You may try, Lord Jianfeng. Jiaoshi remained unfazed by his intimidation. You and I are the only souls aware of the secrets of this battlefield. But if some evil should befall me, I assure you that my sect will receive words of this secret. They will have people sent here, most likely led by the prodigy expert, my senior brother himself. Were you not interested in my senior brother, Lord Jianfeng? You can find out for yourself whether he or Jian Wushuang is more powerful than when he comes. You dare threaten me? A huge and strong murderous intent gushed from the monarch of the Jian kingdom. Nay, my lord. I only wish to negotiate. Jiaoshi said before she continued, I assure you, Lord Jianfeng, that word of this secret will never be leaked to another soul. As long as you allow me a sufficient reward. I can swear a mortal oath if you so will. This battlefield, along with all its secrets and riches, would only belong to the Jian kingdom alone. The eyes of the monarch squinted as he studied her intently, pondering for moments as he contemplated his next move and response. At length he replied, I agree to your terms. I will not only allow you 3 times of the agreed rewards. In fact, I will give you 10 times of what was agreed before. But you are not to leave my side at all times, not until when the forces of the Jian kingdom leave this battlefield and only when all riches and secrets of this battlefield are fully claimed by me. It seems that you are exceptionally wary of me, are you not, Lord Jianfeng? Jiaoshi gave him a devilish smile as she immediately nodded. Very well. We have an agreement then. You will now prepare the arrangements. I ensure that none will disturb you during your rituals. The monarch ordered. Be at ease, sire. The Jian kingdom will not lose not even one man when the secret weapon is ready. You will be able to vanquish the vermins from the green fire world with hardly any effort. She laughed. Chapter 12:19, The Spiraling Vortex. Chapter 12:19, The Spiraling Vortex. The deeps of the battle fortress was still engulfed by a rowdy and boisterous crowd, albeit in a completely different atmosphere. Even though they had managed to secure a huge victory at their first confrontation with the Jian kingdom, the warriors of the green fire world began to notice and comprehend their own losses as the fervor of their first triumph began to subside. The sacrifices of the huge number of Dao masters swept the entire battle fortress into a sorrowful mood. Jian Wushuang wandered aimlessly along the corridors of the fortress as he looked around. He was still strolling with his mind far away when his senses alerted him to 2 familiar presences. With a whisk of his robes, he leaped towards the auras that he knew. There were 2 figures huddling together in a corner. First and third senior brothers. Jian Wushuang addressed them. The 2 people standing together were Jian Wushuang's first senior brother, Shueling Tian, and third senior brother, Baihu. Junior brother. They both turned to look at Jian Wushuang. Only you 2 are over here. Where is second senior brother? Jian Wushuang asked. Your second senior brother? I am afraid he's... Shueling Tian tried to explain, but he could hardly finish his words, with the look of grief unmistakable upon his features. Beside him, Baihu was on the verge of tears. Jian Wushuang felt a shudder as he grasped what had happened. Has he fallen? Jian Wushuang muttered. There had been about 35,000 Dao masters giving their lives in the battle earlier. Jian Wushuang's second senior brother, Purple Mountain, was one of the Dao masters who had tragically fallen during the Jian kingdom's onslaught. Second senior brother? Jian Wushuang gasped with anguish, as his fists were tightly clenched with rage and his eyes wet with pain and sadness. Our teacher has urged that we should be careful during battle when we came. We have always kept his words at heart. Yet, we have never expected that one of us would perish in only the first confrontation. Shueling Tian lamented as he shook his head in grief. My skills and strength are inferior even to second senior brother. I am afraid death shall not be far from me. You both are much stronger. You must stay alive. Baidu spoke to them as if leaving them his final words. Speak nothing of such ominous words, junior brother. Shueling Tian admonished him sharply. But Jian Wushuang could not help feeling a strong burden weighing over his heart. There were more than 35,000 deaths in the first battle, some of whom were related to Jian Wushuang. His second senior brother, Purple Mountain, was one of them. Jian Wushuang then later found that Di Jing was amongst the casualties as well. Senior Di Jing. Jian Wushuang breathed heavily with agonizing pain. Jian Wushuang had long known Di Jing since the day they met in the ancient world. It was he that had told Jian Wushuang about the eternal world and had widened the latter's perspective about the vastness of the universe. Moreover, Di Jing had saved him from evil numerous times. It was his kindness that Jian Wushuang had felt eternally indebted to. Yet, he had barely been able to repay him for his kindness when his benefactor had already perished in battle. Purple Mountain Di Jing and the dreamless Tao Master, whom Jian Wushuang had known during his venture into the Samsara continent, had all perished in this battle. In the midst of grief and sadness, Jian Wushuang could only sigh with dismay. They had all given their lives for the green fire world. Just then, Palace Master Wushuang, look! A Tao Master beside him called him out. With a flicker of his body, Jian Wushuang appeared at the edges of the battle fortress and cast his sights far into the distance where the spaceship was. A female, proud and stern of demeanor, glided out of the spaceship and was coming directly at the fortress. Ah! Jian Wushuang looked at her intently. He could see that despite being a universe master, the woman had an aura inferior to that of the Long Su King. What's her intention of coming here alone? Jian Wushuang. The Samsara Temple Master, the Void Temple Masters and the rest of his comrade hurried over, having received word about the lone woman. The Palace Masters all looked darkly with doubt at the sight of the woman coming, not knowing what was she up to. The proud woman flew closer and closer. Finally, she stopped, hanging over mid-air thousands of kilometers away from the battle fortress. There, before the eyes of the host of experts in the fortress, the woman produced a token with a flick of her wrists. She channeled her powers and drew from within the token two mysterious strands of auric energies, one in black and the other in white. The two energies were apparently of completely conflicting nature, for they tried vehemently to gnaw and chew at each other as they intertwined furiously. The entanglement of energies ground and gnashed together violently, producing a huge drawing force. Swoosh! Even the fabric of space and air surrounding the entangling mass of energy was ruptured by its sheer destructive force. Slowly, a coagulation of black and white raw energies blended as one began to swirl like a whirlpool at the very center of the battlefield. The black and white vortex seemed harmless. Any one of the holy masters or even a Tao master could have easily decimated it. Still, the mysterious vortex began to grow and enlarge at an unprecedented speed. It was only the size of a bowl when it first took form. But in mere moments, it was now the size of a pail, and yet it was hardly stopping. What is that? Everyone in the battle fortress began to take notice of the swirling mass of energies outside. All of them were riddled with suspicions and bewilderment. Not one of the warriors in the fortress knew what it was, nor did any of them knew the woman's reason in conjuring the vortex. Everyone, save for one, the Gu King in Jian Wushuang's body. At the sight of the black and white spinning vortex, he immediately exclaimed with fright, "That is the enduring Samsara. The grand formation of the enduring Samsara." The grand formation of the enduring Samsara? Jian Wushuang was puzzled by the Gu King's sudden agitation. What is this grand formation, Gu King? Is it powerful? Powerful. Powerful, you say? To call it powerful is an understatement. The Gu King's voice turned cold and frosty like never before seen as he told his companion, "Attack at once, Jian Wushuang. Destroy the swirling vortex before it truly grows. Kill the woman as well. Otherwise the green fire world will be destroyed." What? Jian Wushuang was startled. The end of the green fire world is near if the vortex is not destroyed. Is it that bad? Jian Wushuang grimaced with horror. It is much more terrible than what you can imagine. Go at once lest it is too late. The Gu King pestered. Very well. Jian Wushuang acknowledged wearily. With his past travels through the eternal chaotic world with King Luozhen for many years before, the Gu King has vast experiences and knowledge that has proved to be an asset to Jian Wushuang. Even though he has not fully revealed the true abilities of the Grand Formation, Jian Wushuang trusted the Gu King's warnings that the Grand Formation would be of tremendous danger to them without question. Everyone, there is something unusual about the vortex. I will now try to destroy it before it grows. Jian Wushuang announced his intentions. Granted. I myself do not feel well too. There is something peculiar about the vortex. The Samsara Temple Master nodded in agreement. Go as you will, Jian Wushuang. But be extremely careful. Return immediately if anything is wrong. Understood. Jian Wushuang nodded and disappeared with a kick of his heels. Chapter 12:20, the terrible thrust. Chapter 1220, the terrible thrust. The proud and stern woman stood hovering in mid-air, at thousands of kilometers far away from the battle fortress. The swirling vortex of black and white hues by her side spun ceaselessly, growing larger and larger. By now the spinning vortex had stretched almost a meter in width, yet it was still expanding at a fast speed. The woman studied the vortex, feeling satisfied with her handiwork. The size of the vortex, looking hardly intimidating, belied its true terror, mused the woman to herself. Much she had expended and much had been exhausted, just to conjure this churning eddy of destruction. Just then, a figure fleeted out of the battle fortress. Jiaoshi had noticed the figure when it made its appearance. Lord Jian Feng. Jiaoshi immediately alerted her patron. "Fret not. I am here. He will never come near to endangering you." The voice of the monarch reverberated. "That's good." Jiaoshi smiled as she saw the figure racing through the air at her. "That seems to be the Jian Wushuang whom you have spoken of, is he?" "Very well, I will send him off to his death since he has delivered himself to my doorstep." The cold-blooded voice came again. He was only nearby, using certain methods of sorcery to keep himself hidden. Jian Wushuang streaked through the air. But he stopped suddenly when he was nearly 20,000 kilometers far away from that woman. Something is not right. Jian Wushuang's eyebrows rose with doubt. The woman should have noticed my coming. Yet she has shown no reaction nor alarm. Not even the forces of the Jian kingdom has shown any movement. "Be careful, Jian Wushuang. This might be a trap." The Gu King warned him. "I understand." Jian Wushuang answered as his eyes squinted. He cast forth his spiritual senses, a wave of his fire of soul that rippled from him and reached far and wide like a tide of the sea. In the blink of an eye, a facsimile of the entire landscape of the terrain around him was conceived in his mind. Jian Wushuang could now spiritually see and read his surroundings through his mind. Ah! Immediately, he noticed a strange distortion in the air, just beside the woman. The part of the area seemed perfectly normal to the naked eye, but the distortion in the continuum of space in that area showed that someone was standing there invisibly. Indeed, there is someone hidden. Jian Wushuang instantly realized. It is a rather quaint technique. No common universe master is able to employ a sorcery of this level. Moreover, common universe masters would hardly dare to spring a trap upon me. The one that is now hidden from sight. Could it be? Could it be that it is the monarch of the Jian kingdom? Jian Wushuang could not help feeling a shudder in his mind. The highly exalted monarch of the Jian kingdom, a warrior of the highest order himself, should be the only one of the entire Jian kingdom most capable of defeating him. There is a strong possibility that it is the monarch of the Jian kingdom hiding to ambush you. Retreat now, Jian Wushuang. Back to the battle fortress and regroup with the others. The Gu King urged him. "I know." Jian Wushuang nodded. Floating high above in the air, he took another step forward as if he was still adamant on continuing. But his foot had barely fallen when he instantly performed the dragon blood secret skill and sped as quickly as the winds could bear him. This had not gone unnoticed by the monarch of the Jian kingdom, whose expression turned furious. "He'd noticed me? But still there is no escaping your fate." He gave a bitter snort. What followed was a strong and terrifying aura, one which was able to strike fear and despair into the hearts of all experts from both the Jian kingdom and the green fire world alike. The aura shot into the air with the semblance of a terrible beast pouncing upon its prey. A golden flash of light tore through the sky with trails of gilded sparkles at its tail, like a shooting star flying over the sky. "Die." The monarch's scowling face darkened with rage as he growled and pierced forth with the jet-black spear he held in his hand. A shimmering distortion broke open in the air before his thrust, allowing the spear to enter through it. Another distortion appeared in front of Jian Wushuang, and from within it, the black spear thrust forth at him with the speed and deadliness of a striking serpent. "What?" Jian Wushuang was astonished, caught off guard by the sudden strike. He had already noticed that something was wrong and he had turned back, speeding as swiftly as he could to safety. But never had he expected that the stroke, unleashed by the monarch thousands of kilometers away, could defy the laws of physics and strike at him from afar. The terrible thrust of the spear snapped dangerously at him. Jian Wushuang felt only a cold shiver of fear that made his hair stand as his senses tingled wildly, warning him of the impending danger. The dawn light technique. Instinctively Jian Wushuang brandished his sword. The Blood Mountain sword trembled in his grasp, channeling the powers of its own. The sword stabbed forward swiftly, shining with a blinding illumination resembling the first light of day just as a shroud of darkness beset upon his surroundings. Jian Wushuang performed the stroke of dawn technique with all his might. His sword clashed against the black spear, as steel gnashed furiously at steel with the force that had even severely injured the Long Su king. Bump! The force of the thrust was transmitted to his arm via his sword. It was so powerful that his arm instantly bulged and exploded into bits of shredded flesh and viscera. The Blood Mountain sword was flung quickly away from him by the magnitude of the blast. But fatal peril was still at hand. The black spear was not withdrawn. Instead, its force spread from what was left of his ruptured arm and struck his torso, causing him internal injuries. Erg! Jian Wushuang spat a huge mouthful of blood. His face grew instantly pale white as he grew weakened. But he was still alive. Propelled backward by the force of the attack he had suffered, Jian Wushuang turned and hurled himself towards the directions of the battle fortress, retrieving the Blood Mountain sword as he bolted back to safety. Shoo! Jian Wushuang zipped through the air like a projectile tearing at great speeds, desperately escaping back into the sanctuary of the fortress. As he entered the hold of the fortress, the figure of the monarch of the Jian kingdom shimmered into sight. He had wanted to chase Jian Wushuang, but he was thwarted by the barriers held by the fortress itself. He's managed to escape? The monarch muttered coldly. As a sovereign who had finally decided to take matters into his own hands, he had failed to slay Jian Wushuang. Interesting. This Jian Wushuang does have a few tricks up his sleeves. He's been able to notice my presence, endured what should have been a fatal blow to him, and yet he still lives. The monarch emitted a light giggle, looking hardly distressed even though he was not able to put Jian Wushuang to his death. There was still the vortex which was nearing completion. Jian Wushuang and all the experts of the green fire world will not be able to escape their death when the ritual is ready. Jian Wushuang rushed into the hold of the battle fortress. He crashed into the floor, leaving a huge crater with cracks stretching wide. Jian Wushuang. Master Wushuang. The Samsara Temple Master, the Void Temple Masters and the rest of his comrade hurried over to see to him. Everyone huddled around Jian Wushuang, only to see him barely hanging on to his life. He was drenched in blood, feebly weak as his entire right arm was gone, left only with blood and viscera. I'm still alive. Barely. It was fortunate that I noticed something's wrong and immediately escape. My original body would never have survived if I have taken but one more step forward. Jian Wushuang breathed, grateful for still being alive. A careful person as he usually was, Jian Wushuang had intentionally left behind his secondary body at the battle fortress. He would still be alive even if the original body was annihilated by the monarch earlier. But he would lose his equipment and treasures such as the blood-killing plate armor and the Blood Mountain sword, if he had indeed sacrificed his original body earlier. Chapter 1221, The Grand Formation of the Enduring Samsara. Chapter 1221, The Grand Formation of the Enduring Samsara. Seeing that Jian Wushuang was still alive, his comrades heaved a sigh of relief. A trap. That's indeed a trap. The great monarch of the Jian kingdom did not appear even at the first battle. To think that he would elect to conceal himself to ambush Master Wushuang. Hardly the conduct befitting a king. Huge roars of anger and indignant shoutings arose within the deep of the battle fortress. The palace masters of the green fire world immediately convened to discuss their plans. With incredible restorative powers of his own coupled with the help of the Gu King, Jian Wushuang required only a short period to heal himself with a new arm fully regrown. Palace Master Yuan. I am afraid no one is better than you in the skills of using magical formations. Do you have any inkling as to what that black and white vortex is? The Samsara Temple Master sat in his throne and asked, his deep voice rumbling with concern. The rest of the palace masters present immediately turned to look at Palace Master Yuan. Palace Master Yuan was one of the oldest entities in the green fire world. Long had he been deep in delving into the arcane skills and masteries of using magical barriers and formations. Indeed, there was no better person than he who knew more about magical formations. Palace Master Yuan frowned as he raked his mind for answers to the inquiry of the Temple Master. It took quite some time before he uttered, the black and white swirling mass is a mixture of two different energies of opposing polarities. The conjurer of the mass has harnessed both energies to create a revolving cycle that consumes and breaks apart both air and space around it. Dida. That is indeed a magical formation. More importantly, it looks oddly alike to a formation I have once read about in an ancient codex, the Grand Formation of the Enduring Samsara. Yes, it looks almost the same. The Grand Formation of the Enduring Samsara? This sent a shudder across the crowd of palace masters present. Yes. That swirling mass of black and white color is indeed the Grand Formation of the Enduring Samsara. Jian Wushuang's voice came suddenly. The Gu King had earlier recognized the spinning vortex. This is bad. Woe is upon us if that is really the Grand Formation that you spoke of. Palace Master Yun's voice grew deep and hoarse. The ancient codex that I have once read is actually chanced upon by experts of the Green Fire Palace somewhere from this vast battlefield. Despite having recorded many unique and powerful magical formations, much of the codex has been damaged and scattered with missing chapters and pages. The descriptions of this formation in the codex is incomplete. But from the pieces of fragmental information remaining, it is safe to conclude that the Grand Formation is indeed terrible and dangerous to us all. The swirling vortex might seem ordinary and harmless, and even a Tao master may easily destroy it. But once completed, the vortex will increase into a gargantuan size in only 2 hours. By then there will be no ways for us to destroy it. 2 hours. The stunned crowd of palace masters began to look worried. It had been more than 2 hours since the woman of the Jian kingdom began her rituals to conjure the vortex. Could this not mean that the Grand Formation had fully stabilized? Indeed, what Master Yun said is correct. With only 2 hours, the Grand Formation will be fully secured. That's why I urged you to strike immediately before. It's imperative that you destroy the formation before it nears completion. But now, the voice of the Gu King rang grimly in Jian Wushuang's mind. Jian Wushuang grimaced with dread. He turned to Palace Master Yun. Master Yun, what powers does the Grand Formation wield? Will it keep on expanding? Yes. It will grow ceaselessly. Palace Master Yun acknowledged. Its reach now will hardly be able to threaten us. But as it grows in size, so does its strength. Its powers will draw in and swallow everything around it. With no one to stop it, its growth will never see its end. The vortex will only require a few years to grow into a staggering size. By then, it will be able to destroy this battle fortress and reduce us into shreds. The Green Fire world, having lesser endurance than that of the battle fortress, will surely fall as well. What? The palace masters present were all astounded. With only a few years of maturation, the swirling vortex of energies would be able to destroy even the battle fortress. With the battle fortress and the Green Fire world remaining anchored and immovable, the position of the vortex just in front of the fortress would make the fortress its first and foremost prey when it grew larger. So, the Jian kingdom would only have to wait and watch us being devoured by this vortex when they would not need to even lose any of their soldiers? The Void Temple Master uttered with shock. That is true. Palace Master Yun nodded wearily. Silence filled the hall as the palace masters instantly fell into a sullen dismay of fear and dread. They were still reveling in the victory of the first battle not long ago, honestly believing that they finally had the power to challenge the Jian kingdom. They were confident that they would prevail. But never had they expected that the Jian kingdom employed the use of something so deadly and terrible. The Grand Formation of the Enduring Samsara that was such a terrifying horror. No. We cannot allow it to continue growing. We must destroy it before it destroys us. The Samsara Temple Master bellowed. We must destroy it at once. The vortex will be our greatest nightmare if not removed. An unconquerable resolution shone in their eyes. In one way or another, the black and white vortex must be stopped. Palace Master Yun, you seem to be most familiar with this Grand Formation. Do you have any suggestions? The Samsara Temple Master looked towards the Palace Master Yun. The old Palace Master shook his head. I'm afraid not. As I have mentioned earlier, the information of the Grand Formation in the ancient codex is hardly complete. The description of it is all I have. What? We do not know how. There was hushed murmuring and dark glances shared among the masters. Do you know of any way to undo this formation, Gu King? Jian Wushuang asked his companion. Despite my adventures in the eternal chaotic world with King Luo Zhen, I have barely any understanding in magical formations. I have once seen with my own eyes another grand formation of the enduring samsara, another one which had grown for millennia, but it was an immensely powerful entity who have destroyed it. The Gu King related of his tale. Destroyed with sheer raw power? Jian Wushuang was surprised. You would best find another way yourself. The one who destroyed the grand formation I'd seen was one of the most powerful supreme entities. One who was equal to the founder of the star bloodline. None of you here possess any strength that could hope to match his. The Gu King remarked. Chapter 1222, An Solution. Chapter 1222, An Solution. What is to be done then? Jian Wushuang turned angry and growled, "Is there nothing we can do, save to watching blindly as the vortex swells and grows until it destroys us?" The palace masters wore a sullen and worried look. "Should we try for an all-out assault and kill the woman who is still working on the rituals of the grand formation?" The Tang Emperor suggested. "That would hardly help." Palace Master Yun shook his head heavily. "Once enduring Samsara formation is formed, even we kill the man who plays the formation, it will continue to expand without an end." "Is there really no solution to this?" the Samsara Temple Master asked, refusing to relent. "I still have much to learn in the skills of conjuring magical formation. There could still be a chance if we have help from someone who is more adept and proficient in the use of these skills." Palace Master Yun admitted. "One who is more adept and proficient than you in the skills of using magical formations?" The Samsara Temple Master gave a short and bitter laugh. "Who else save for you, Master Yun? You are the greatest in the skills of conjuring magical formations. Who else can we look to if you two know not of any solutions?" The rest of the palace masters shook their heads furtively in dismay. "I may know one. One whose skills in the sorcery of magical formation could outvie even Palace Master Yun." There were gasps and exclamation of shock as a voice rose from the midst of the dejected crowd. It was the Sunrise Sword Emperor. Every eye present instantly turned and trained upon the Sword Emperor. "Sword Emperor, is there anyone you know whose skills in the sorcery of magical formation bests even Master Yun?" the Samsara Temple Master asked with shock and distraught. "There is another whose skill in formation outstrips mine in the green fire world?" Even Palace Master Yun himself could hardly believe what he had heard. He had the utmost confidence in the skillfulness of his craft. For a long time, even he himself had truly believed that he was the greatest conjurer of magical formations in the green fire world. Otherwise, he would never have been charged with manning the huge magical formation at the edge of the vast battlefield. Yet, in an abrupt manner, the Sunrise Sword Emperor proclaimed that there was still another whose skills in the craft of using magical formation outvied him. "In fact, I do. But whether his skills in the crafts of using magical formation eclipses Master Yun, that I cannot say. But his skills are truly unfathomable, to say the least." The Sunrise Sword Emperor confessed solemnly. "Do you still remember the magical barrier in the Hall of Crucified Minds 30,000 years ago?" The Hall of Crucified Minds? The memory seemed to strike Palace Master Yun hard. He hastily said, "Of course I do. That was a site of opportunity encountered by us 30,000 years ago. We have found plenty of treasures and resources there, and I remember the powerful magical barrier that was holding the hall. You have summoned for my assistance to destroy the barrier when you found the hall back then. The destruction alone had taken me a few hundred years of research, yet I have only accomplished so little. I would require at least more than another millennium before I can truly undo the magical barrier. But it was you. Somehow you had found a way to destroy the barrier, a way which had eliminated the barrier in mere moments." "Indeed," the Sunrise Sword Emperor acknowledged as he smiled. "Indeed, I had found a way to destroy the barrier. But it was taught to me by a mysterious person. A mysterious person who is a true enigma." "An enigma?" Everyone kept their gazes transfixed upon the Sunrise Sword Emperor. "Yes. He exudes a strange presence. It was by chance that I encountered him, and he was apparently studying the craft of magical formations. Knowing that he could be a learned scholar in the craft, I illustrated the magical barriers in the Hall of Crucified Minds and showed it to him. With merely a glance, he could immediately teach me the way of destroying it," the Sunrise Sword Emperor admitted. "What?" Palace Master Yun was instantly astonished by this revelation. "This is impossible. He knew how to destroy that barrier with a mere glance?" The insides of Palace Master Yun squirmed violently with anxiety. For centuries, he had searched, delved and scrapped through every resource he came across, only to find a mere inkling to which how should the barrier of the Hall of Crucified Minds be removed. Yet, there was one, a person who had been able to see the weaknesses of the barrier with only one simple look. Is there truly one such conjurer of magical formation who wields such abilities in the green fire world? Palace Master Yun challenged immediately. I speak only the truth. But there is also the possibility that he is familiar with only that particular barrier. But still, just as I have said before, the man is strange and unusual. The Sword Emperor clearly admired the stranger greatly. Be that as it may, we have no other options but to implore his help. He may be able to provide us with ways to destroy the grand formation of the enduring Samsara. Palace Master Yun remarked quickly. Sword Emperor, where is he now? This mysterious stranger? The Samsara Temple Master asked with haste. Sadly, I know nothing of the person's origins. I only know that he exudes a most unusual aura. He was of the eternal realm when I met him, that I am sure of. But even I, who was a universe master then, could not fully sense the full extent of his powers. The Sunrise Sword Emperor revealed. But there was one man amongst the crowd of dazed spectators who jumped with recognition. It was Jian Wushuang. A man who appeared to be of the eternal realm, yet not even the Sunrise Sword Emperor could truly discern his full powers. Could it be? Is he not? Sword Emperor. Jian Wushuang looked immediately to the Sunrise Sword Emperor. The mysterious stranger you mentioned, is he called Xian Yi? Xian Yi? The Sunrise Sword Emperor shook his head. I do not know the person's real name. Jian Wushuang immediately pressed on. Have you given him a token that contained 3 sword essences as repayment of the favor when he had taught you about the ways to remove the barrier of the Hall of Crucified Minds? Yes. How did you know that? The Sunrise Sword Emperor looked at Jian Wushuang with shock and surprise. Despite hearing the Sword Emperor's words, they did not register into the mind of Jian Wushuang, whose face instantly turned eerie. This stranger, although outwardly an eternal realm practitioner back then, was able to notice the ways to destroy the powerful barrier of the Hall of Crucified Minds with a mere look. His true powers were so unfathomable that not even the Sunrise Sword Emperor, who was then a universe master, could not fully gauge his full greatness. Most importantly, the Sunrise Sword Emperor had given him a token that contained 3 sword essences for the favor he has been accorded. The details have fully illustrated the identity of the mysterious stranger. Everyone, if I am right, I believe I know the person whom the Sword Emperor spoke of. Jian Wushuang declared. You know him? The eyes of the other palace masters twinkled with hope as they turned to look at Jian Wushuang at once. I not only know him. In fact, he is my teacher. Jian Wushuang croaked hoarsely. Your master? The epiphany took everyone by surprise. He is your master? Even the Sunrise Sword Emperor turned to stare at Jian Wushuang, his shock and bewilderment hardly concealed. Indeed he is. The token that you have given him, he had passed it on to me. I was then a fresh student in martial skills who was still powerless and weak. The 3 sword essences you have imbued into the token had saved me many times. Jian Wushuang revealed with a smile. That is great. The Sunrise Sword Emperor beamed with delight. Send word to your teacher at once, Jian Wushuang. We need to see if he has any solution to break the enduring Samsara formation. Understood. I will send word right away. Jian Wushuang nodded. Chapter 1223 Instructions. Chapter 1223 Instructions. Teacher. Jian Wushuang communicated with his mentor. Yes. It did not take long for Xian Yi to respond. Second senior brother has gone, Jian Wushuang said with grief. I know it already. Xian Yi exhaled lightly and continued. All fates are predestined. It was his inescapable destiny. I cannot help it too. Jian Wushuang heaved a heavy and sorrowful breath as well. That should hardly be the only matter you reach out to me for, is it not? Xian Yi said. Indeed, teacher. Jian Wushuang answered. There is a problem that I need your help with. Problem? Continue. Xian Yi replied, his tone still cool and indifferent as ever. Xian Yi had 4 disciples, all of which had reached the level of Tao masters, most notably Jian Wushuang, who was now one of the strongest warriors of the Green Fire world. But never had he requested for favors from his disciples. Rather, it was his students who had repeated reach to him for help. Well, the problem is, Jian Wushuang then explained the problem and situation of the battlefield to his teacher. Ah, enduring Samsara formation? Xian Yi's brows twitched with interest. I see that the monarch of the Jian kingdom has expended a great deal this time to have employed a magical formation of such magnitude and destruction. Enduring Samsara formation is hardly a small problem. Indeed it is, teacher. That is why I have only you to request for help from. Jian Wushuang answered. That will hardly be a problem. Enduring Samsara formation itself is hardly invulnerable. Xianyi remarked. So there are indeed ways to stop it? Jian Wushuang asked, with relief and joy brimming in his heart. Enduring Samsara formation is, in essence, a formation comprised of two completely different energies of opposing nature being harnessed in an endless cycle. The formation can be easily destroyed by disrupting the cycle or completely reversing the cycle itself. Xianyi explained as he smiled thinly. I can think of 6 different ways to destroy it. What? Jian Wushuang blurted with astonishment. What is it, Jian Wushuang? The palace master standing around him noticed the clamor and looked in his way. My teacher had just told me that there's 6 ways to destroy enduring Samsara formation. Jian Wushuang explained. His words left them speechless and stunned. Palace Master Yun's eyes widened into the size of eggs as he took in the words with disbelief. They had been enduring both despair and disappointment as their desperate search for ways to destroy the enduring Samsara formation but had yielded no results. Yet, unexpectedly, the teacher of Jian Wushuang revealed that there were 6 methods of destroying it. There are indeed 6 different ways to destroy enduring Samsara formation. But with the current strength of the green fire world, I'm afraid there is only one way. Xianyi communicated. What way? Jian Wushuang asked again anxiously. As long as the formation could be destroyed, even one single way was all they need for now. Listen to me. Illustrate for me the profile of the swirling vortex of the formation. Xianyi instructed. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. With his magical powers, Jian Wushuang drew an image of the vortex as he stood in the hall, as instructed by Xianyi. The magical formation might look ordinary to the eye like a harmless vortex of swirling black and white fumes. But in truth, the formation had hidden within itself a lot of intricacies which made it a very powerful and complex sorcery. So complicated was its conjuration that even Palace Master Yun could not find out its weakness for now. With the image completed, Xianyi's voice came to him again. Remember these 4 points I show you. Xianyi pointed to Jian Wushuang 4 different points upon the grand formation. Remember this 4 points. These are the pillars that sustain the grand formation. At the centermost part between all 4 points, lies the fatal pressure point of the formation. I will now pass on to you another set of skill, a sword formation that requires 4 persons. Xianyi instructed with great detail. A sword formation? Jian Wushuang gasped with wonder. The enduring Samsara formation becomes virtually invulnerable once it reaches full maturity. Even with the knowledge of its pressure point, you will also require a powerful force to fully threaten it. None of you in the green fire world possess of such strength. That is why you can only rely on a sword formation. Xianyi elaborated on his instructions. Understood, teacher. Jian Wushuang answered. Xianyi then taught Jian Wushuang the skill set needed for the sword formation. Now that you have the knowledge to use the sword formation, you will have 4 people standing upon the 4 points I have instructed to you earlier and attack the pressure point in unison. This will allow you to destroy the grand formation. Xianyi directed. Remember, you have to reduce the duration needed to fuse all 4 of your powers. Tarry any longer, and the grand formation will grow stronger and stronger. Not even I will be able to help it if everything is too late. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, teacher. Jian Wushuang cried gratefully. There is no need for thanks. This will be a very perilous and trying hour for you and your 2 senior brothers. Just be careful. That is enough for me. Xianyi left him a smile as he terminated the connection of their communication. How was it, Jian Wushuang? The palace masters standing around him all looked at him hopefully. Jian Wushuang exhaled lightly and gazed around him. Loudly he announced, My teacher has taught me the skill set for using a sword formation. With it, we shall be able to destroy the grand formation of the enduring Samsara formation. A sword formation? The palace masters around him could hardly believe their ears. Master Yun, you are the most gifted and the most learned in the skills of conjuring magical formations. This is the sword formation that my teacher had just taught me to use. Would you please have a look and see if it will work? Jian Wushuang recorded the teachings of his mentor into writing and showed it to Palace Master Yun. Knowing that there might be doubt and skepticism from the many palace masters present despite his own complete faith in his teacher, Jian Wushuang had divulged the method instructed to him by his Xianyi. I will first have a look. Palace Master Yun said, and he immediately began poring through the details. The assembly of palace masters waited in silence, as did Jian Wushuang as they hoped for the best. After some time, Palace Master Yun finally came to a conclusion. Jian Wushuang. The elderly palace master turned to face Jian Wushuang. Suddenly, right before the staring eyes of the entire assembly, he bowed respectfully to Jian Wushuang. Master Yun, what are you doing? Jian Wushuang uttered with shock. The entire crowd around them was instantly stunned. Palace Master Yun rose to his feet and smiled. The respects I paid were not for you but your teacher. It is he who has given us of the green fire world a glimmer of hope. A glimmer of hope? The news brought joyous anticipation of optimism to everyone around. The words of Palace Master Yun had affirmed that Xian Yi's instruction would work in destroying the Grand Formation. Indeed? It will work? The Samsara Temple Master asked with impatiently. Jian Wushuang's teacher is, without doubt, one of the greatest masters in the skills of using magical formations. Even the most complex grand formation of the enduring samsara have been easily dissected and examined with such ease to him. Even the sword formation that he had taught was exceedingly complicated. The grand formation would most likely be destroyed as long as we follow the instructions he had left for the sword formation. Palace Master Yun announced. Chapter 1224, The Quadruple Supreme Sword Formation. Chapter 1224, The Quadruple Supreme Sword Formation. It will most likely work. The palace masters around instantly erupted with cheers and applause at the confirmation of Palace Master Yun. That is great. Jian Wushuang's teacher is invincible in the skills of using magical formations. Since we have the plans now, let not lose any more time. Some of the palace master urged anxiously. Let's not be hasty. Palace Master Yun waved dismissively before he continued, composed and reserved as he was. The methods proposed here will work. The sword formation that Jian Wushuang's teacher has imparted to him is also complex and powerful. But there is a strict requirement for the 4 persons who will operate the formation. Ah! The sudden remark made everyone look at him. It is called the Quadruple Supreme Sword Formation. It requires 4 completely different sword principles that conflict with each other. This means that the 4 people operating the formation will each have to create a mighty sword principle of their own. What's more, the 4 would have to at least be universe masters. Palace Master Yun explained gravely. Create the most mighty sword principle? And they have to be at least a universe master? The palace masters present were all taken aback by the sudden notice of predicaments. It would hardly be a hindrance if only the strengths of universe masters were required. Unlike 80 years ago, the current green fire world has produced more than 20 universe masters, all of whom could have been easy candidates for the sword formation. But they now encountered a conundrum. The 4 chosen warriors would have to create a most powerful sword principle. The creation of the strongest sword principle, which was a feat of intense difficulty. The strongest sword principle had always remained a myth in the green fire world. There has only been a handful of people who have been able to create sword principles of such tremendous power and potency in 40 million years. But now they needed 4 such virtuosos of martial skills, all of whom must be capable of forging the strongest sword principle. This was an impossible task. Where in the entire green fire world are we going to find such people? Red Lotus asked absent-mindedly. Even the rest of the palace masters have turned sullen and dejected. But Jian Wushuang, hardly beaten, rumbled instead, We have. There are 4 such warriors in the green fire world. Ah! This made everyone look at him. The Sunrise Sword Emperor and I have both once created the strongest sword principles of our own. In fact, we have forged 2. Moreover, I have an additional original body which wields also the strength of a universe master. I alone can operate 2 of the 4 points of the Quadruple Supreme Sword Formation. With the Sunrise Sword Emperor, we will now have 3 points covered. Jiang Wushuang said. That is true. The eyes of the assembled masters twinkled once more with hope. Jian Wushuang had displayed the prowess of his 2 original bodies in the battle before. Despite not fully equal in strength, both of his bodies possessed the strength of universe masters. With the 2 strongest sword principles of his creation at hand, his original bodies could adequately man 2 of the 4 points of the sword formation. Your original bodies do possess the requirements. As long as the sword principles you wield are different and the bodies are able to act as separate entities. Palace Master Yun nodded at his assent. But we are still short of 1 more? Red Lotus frowned with distress. Everyone. Please forget not my father, who has created also the strongest sword principle of his own. Jian Wushuang announced. Your father? The rest of the assembled masters were surprised. Jian Nantian. Another prodigy in swordsmanship whose talents and skills were no less wanting if compared to Jian Wushuang and the Sunrise Sword Emperor. It was due to an injury which he had suffered during his youth that his potential has waned. Then again he was still a powerful swordsman whose strength none dared question nor challenge. It was no secret that Jian Nantian had once forged a strongest sword principle of his own. But it was due to his long years of wandering that his name did not come to the mind of the rest of the warriors of the Green Fire world. His travels that have brought him out of the domain of the Green Fire world and the emergence and fame of his own son Jian Wushuang had partially made him a forgotten myth. Jian Wushuang, your father has reached the level of Universe Master? Palace Master Yun looked to him inquiringly. Indeed he has. But the voice did not come from Jian Wushuang. Rather, it was the Samsara Temple Master who had answered in Jian Wushuang's stead. Being the teacher of Jian Nantian, the Samsara Temple Master was also aware of Jian Nanshan's situation. During the preparations for war, we of the Green Fire Palace have amassed huge quantities of Nirvana elixirs. It was these elixirs which have helped bolster the ranks of our Universe Masters. Knowing that Jian Nantian himself possessed remarkable potential, I knew that it is very likely that he will be able to reach the level of Universe Master. Hence I have given him one of the elixirs and he has achieved success. It's just that he has yet to reach the Green Fire Palace. The Samsara Temple Master explained. The Green Fire Palace was extremely stringent in its distribution of Nirvana elixirs. Only holy masters who were close to achieving the rank of Universe Master would receive the elixirs as a supplement. With one Nirvana elixir, Jian Nantian had managed to break through back then. The Sunrise Sword Emperor, although possessing strength equal to that of a Universe Master, was only a holy master. He had consumed one of the 4 Nirvana elixirs procured by the Green Fire Palace during their battle for the Loyalty Palace. Alas, his efforts had yet to bear fruit. The Nirvana elixirs could only be consumed once. If its effects had yielded only failures, additional consumption of the elixir would hardly help. I have earlier communicated with my father. He will come to join us in this battle once he has made necessary arrangements for my mother. Jian Wushuang explained. That is great. Palace Master Yun beamed with delight. Pray to send word that he hasten. With him, you and the Sunrise Sword Emperor, you shall operate the Quadruple Supreme Sword Formation. Understood. Jian Wushuang nodded and left to deliver another message to his father. 4 years, Jian Nantian and Ji Wuming have been wandering around from glen to glen upon the wide swords of the Green Fire world, enjoying their travels across the Void Continent, the Samsara Continent and many other ancient worlds. But he had interrupted his travels ever since word of the fateful war between the Green Fire world and the Jian Kingdom came to him. He began to make arrangements for Ji Wuming and prepared himself for the battles ahead. He was, after all, a member of the Green Fire world. With the Nirvana elixir which had helped propelled him into the ranks of Universe Master, the current Jian Nantian was also one of the most formidable warriors of the Green Fire world. Receiving words from Jian Wushuang, he immediately set off for the battlefield. With only a few days he reached the battle fortress. Father. Jian Wushuang could hardly suppress a smile as he beheld the proud and stern man before him who was his father. Jian Wushuang could distinctly feel that his father's presence was no longer what it was through his years of wandering. The Jian Nantian of old held Ji Wuming dear to his heart, constantly concerned about her well-being. But his years of traveling with her seemed to have mellowed him out. Mother is well? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes. Jian Nantian nodded. In truth it hardly makes any difference. None will be spared from the merciless onslaught of the Jian Kingdom should we lose this battle. We will not lose the battle, father, Jian Wushuang remarked vehemently. Indeed. Because we cannot afford any failure. Jian Wushuang agreed and smiled. The father and son shared a few words before they joined Sunrise Sword Emperor in studying the Quadruple Supreme Sword Formation. Chapter 1225, The Fire Puppet. Chapter 1225, The Fire Puppet. It was in a dark, vast expanse. This was the Oblivion Palace, the site where Jian Wushuang had fought against the Celestial Master Malignity in a fierce and furious duel. It was in the dark hemlock of the huge darkness in the Oblivion Palace that Jian Wushuang's two original bodies, Jian Nantian and the Sunrise Sword Emperor, were standing together. A token hung in mid-air before them. In it was the instructions to operate the Quadruple Supreme Sword Formation. This is the Quadruple Supreme Sword Formation? A formation that combines our attacks into one? Jian Nantian asked as studying it curiously. Indeed, it combines our powers and amplifies it greatly if we are able to bring out its greatest potential. With the powers of this sword formation, we will be able to unleash a force that will even surpass that of the monarch of the Jian kingdom and destroy the grand formation by striking at its pressure point. Jian Wushuang explained. I see. Let us hasten then. We must master the skills of using this sword formation as fast as we can. The Sunrise Sword Emperor said. Indeed, time is of the essence. Jian Nantian nodded somberly. Immediately, the four began their rehearsals in the midst of the shrouding darkness. In this dimension, the four could practice freely without fear of being disturbed. Knowing that time was a luxury for them, they trained and rehearsed for night and day without rest. Time fleeted by swiftly. With a blink of an eye, so passed a year. An uneasy peace had endured quietly in the past year between the Jian kingdom and the Green Fire world. There had not been any clashes or disputes between both factions, not even the most insignificant conflict. The only jot of unrest lied only with the black and white swirling mass of energy that has been ceaselessly spinning thousands of miles away from the battle fortress. One could hardly remember its feebleness when it was first conjured a year ago. But the vortex had outgrown its original size in leaps and bounds in merely 12 months that it was now a gargantuan monstrosity. Within the fastness of the Oblivion Palace. Attack. Thunderous cries came from four corners of the sword formation in unison as the figures brandished their blades as one. Four jets of sword essences shot into the air. The four geysers of energies poured with incredible strength, shuddering with terrifying force. The bolts of energies tore through the air and came down together and bombarded the empty space at the center of the four. Boom! The fabric of space at the center tore asunder by the huge force, forming a void that threatened to engulf all mass and matter around it. Jian Wushuang's two original bodies, Jian Nantian and the Sunrise Sword Emperor, regarded with cold indifference at their handiwork. Almost there. Jian Wushuang could not help a smile of satisfaction. The magic of this sword formation is really complex that it has taken a year and countless hours of practice for us to fully grasp the subtle finesse needed to properly operate this formation. Jian Nantian smiled. We can hardly wait no longer. We have expended a year's time. Despite not having a perfect mastery of the formation has been able to produce a peak yield of energy with our current skills. That should be enough. The Sword Emperor remarked. I concur. Jian Nantian nodded. Let us prepare ourselves then. We strike tomorrow. Jian Wushuang proclaimed. Very well. The Sword Emperor and Jian Nantian both agreed. The next day, the forces of the Green Fire world assembled at the edges of the fortress. Shielded by the magical barriers of the battle fortress, they looked over and saw the gargantuan vortex swirling menacingly before them. The vortex now spanned thousands of kilometers wide like a terrifying and monstrous abomination. Yet despite its size, the black and white spinning vortex was still growing at blinding pace. In only a year, it has grown to such horrifying bulk, reaching for thousands of kilometers, and yet it still grows. If given another year to grow, I wager it will enlarge into a terrible mammoth in hundreds of millions of kilometers wide. Palace Master Yun moaned gravely. Hundreds of millions of kilometers wide. The warriors of the Green Fire world were all shocked with the ominous premonition. It was understandable, for even Universe Master needs some time to travel across such vast distances. Yet, the grand formation before them would grow into such egregious hugeness in only a year. Despite its size, the vortex's drawing force is still yet to fully mature. Universe Masters are able to withstand its pull. We are hardly affected by its force, the battle fortress's protective barriers. But if it were to grow again for another year, the drawing force would increase at least 100-fold. By then, even a Universe Master will not be able to resist its pull and even be instantly obliterated. This battle fortress will also be engulfed by the vortex in 10 years. Palace Master Yun explained with detail. We strike now. We must now lose any more time. Jian Wushuang spoke pensively. Samsara Temple Master, is the puppet fighter ready? It is. the Samsara temple master nodding as he waved his hand and summoned a silvery figure that appeared before him. It was a puppet fighter clad in silver armor, armed with a long, silver spear. The puppet fighter bore the appearance of a man of stern demeanor. His eyes showed no emotions, gleaming with a cold silvery blush. Is that the puppet fighter that could fight against the monarch of the Jian kingdom? Jian Wushuang looked at the puppet in silver armor and felt a cold shiver. This puppet fighter was the trump card of the green fire world aside from battle formations and the battle fortress. A puppet fighter that could best even the monarch of the Jian kingdom himself. The flame deity puppet? Moreover, one of the level of silver armor? The Gu King's voice rose with amazement from within Jian Wushuang. Do you know what this puppet, Gu King? Asked Jian Wushuang. Of course I do. The Gu King smiled thinly with pride. The fire deity puppet is well renowned in the eternal chaotic world. It has 3 different classes: copper armor, silver armor, and gold armor. The copper armor counterpart of this puppet possesses strength equal to that of the monarch of the Jian kingdom. Hence, it is likely that this silver armor puppet would be more powerful than the monarch. But sadly this puppet has been damaged. With the green fire world lacking fire crystals, this puppet might not be able to relive its former glory. But still it should be able to hold off the monarch for some time. That alone the puppet is capable of. Of course, as long as it is able to buy us time. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands tightly. With the possibility that the monarch could be lurking nearby, they need someone to hold him off while Jian Wushuang and his comrades conjure the sword formation to destroy the enduring Samsara formation. But with no one in the green fire world being able to pit evenly against the monarch, they could only rely on the fire deity puppet. Chapter 12:26 Fighting. Chapter 12:26 Fighting. With the vortex growing to such size, the spaceship of the Jian kingdom had long retreated farther away, leaving on the monarch of the Jian kingdom with the woman who was the conjurer of the formation nearby. I will leave this puppet fighter with you, Jian Wushuang. Everything hinges upon your success. Go with our blessings and hope. The Samsara temple master said to him gravely. Leave everything to me. Jian Wushuang nodded to him as he received control of the puppet fighter. Father, Sword Emperor, we strike now. Jian Wushuang muttered, his eyes burning with conviction as his second original body materialized beside him. Of course. Having readied themselves, Jian Nantian and the Sunrise Sword Emperor were already waiting for Jian Wushuang's signal. They disembarked the fortress and the 4 flew towards the eye of the spiraling vortex. But the proud, contemptuous conjurer of the vortex, Jiaoshi at its eye instantly noticed their auras once they took into the sky. At last, after 1 year, the green fire world has finally begun to act. Jiaoshi cast her gaze into the distance, studying at the 4 figures coming at her. What are they thinking of doing? Do they not intend to destroy the formation? But for 1 year they have waited and the grand formation has grown to such size. Is it not too late? Jiaoshi wondered as she felt pleased and confident with herself. Even in the realm of the eternal chaotic world, the enduring Samsara formation was flagrantly notorious as a formation that could easily destroy worlds and lay waste to dimensions. Surely its magic could never be easily undone. Moreover, the grand formation had cultivated itself to its current deformity over the past year. It would be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to destroy the grand formation now. It is unfathomable that the green fire world, a domain which has little to nil dealings with the eternal chaotic world, would have any way to destroy the grand formation. Surely it could not even be possible. Yet despite her overbearing confidence in her impending success, Jiaoshi was careful enough to immediately contact the monarch of the Jian kingdom. The monarch had also been hiding nearby for the entire year. Finally, there came an opportunity for him to shake off his year-long restlessness. Jian Wushuang. The monarch had been observing the 4 approaching figures when they approached. A wicked and sinister smile lined across his face. It was by sheer luck that you have been able to slip through my fingers last time. But you will never be so lucky this time. The 4 flew closer and closer to the eye of the vortex under the watchful eye of the monarch observing them. We are nearing the eye of the vortex. But why is the monarch of the Jian kingdom not showing himself? Jian Nantian wondered, his face wearing a solemn expression of concern. Have no worry, father. I have found his approximate position and I am still observing him. I will release the flame deity puppet upon him if he shows himself so that he would not be able to disturb us. The woman is only an ordinary universe master. I have something prepared for her, Jian Wushuang said to him. He had long projected his strength of soul to locate the position of the disguised monarch who could still be oblivious to the vulnerability of his concealment. This was the advantage of using his strength of soul. The strength of soul was a form of energy most powerful and potent. It was only through his inverse cultivation that Jian Wushuang had been able to harness such powers. Then again, this was merely a fraction of the strength's full potential and faculties. Ah, I see he can wait no more. Jian Wushuang noticed the edge of his lips curling. His senses had picked up the movements of the monarch who was now coming at them stealthily. Ah! Despite possessing strength greater than that of mine, the monarch intends to put me to death by using camouflage and ambush. Hardly a conduct befitting that of a king. Jian Wushuang chuckled with disdain. He waited until the monarch was about thousands of kilometers away before he threw his arms outwards. A silvery flash of light shot from the folds of his sleeve. Boom! The flame deity puppet emerged imperiously with a strong and terrifying aura that poured forth with the force of a broken dam, an indomitable and staggering presence which could deflate even a universe master such as the Samsara temple master himself. His cold eyes flared with a silver glint, training upon the monarch of the Jian kingdom under the commands of Jian Wushuang. He began to move, striding forward towards the monarch. With one single step, the puppet defied all laws of physics as his step landed him directly in front of the monarch. He had covered thousands of kilometers with one single step. The tip of his silvery spear rose like a bolt of lightning as the puppet brandished the weapon and stabbed furiously at the monarch. What did they do? Even the monarch himself was taken aback by the sudden haste of the puppet's attack. He had not expected Jian Wushuang to have locked on to his position, nor had he expected that he would be under attack suddenly. Swift and strong was the stroke unleashed by the puppet that even the monarch broke into cold sweat. This unknown warrior possessed strength hardly inferior to his, in fact it could even be stronger than his. Umph! The monarch grunted with defiant rage and summoned into his grasp his black spear. The long polearm gleamed with a supple blush as it appeared, heeding its master's call. My weapon, the spear of the secluded rainbow. The eyes of the monarch sparkled with malice as he swung his spear in an arc, and it collided ferociously with the silvery spear. Clang! Steel grated against steel as the ruthless and brutish gnashing of metals produced angry sparks. The sheer explosive force caused by the collision threw the fabric of space around the weapons into disarray. The monarch's look turned into one of ugliness and rage as he was thrown backward by the explosion. He staggered a few steps frantically in less than a dozen steps. Each step he took sent him thousands of kilometers away. Instead, the flame deity puppet was hardly affected by the blast. The silvery armor-clad figure merely paused and threw himself forward, hurtling towards the monarch for another bout. The silver-armored puppet fighter does indeed live up to its name. To think that he could best the monarch in strength and power. Jian Wushuang was gleeful. He looked at his companions and said, "The puppet fighter has bought us time. Let us strike now." Very well. The Sword Emperor and Jian Nantian both agreed. As they full well knew, they now held in their hands the very fate of the entire Greenfire world. The survival of the Greenfire world was hinged upon their success. But if they were to fail, the vortex of the grand formation of the enduring Samsara would continue growing and the Greenfire world would be engulfed by it. Attack! With the cue of Jian Wushuang's thunderous battle cry, his two original bodies, Jian Nantian and the Sunrise Sword Emperor, split. The four figures streaked rapidly through the air and swiftly assumed their positions according to the sword formation as instructed by Xianyi. As he flew, Jian Wushuang threw another wary glance at the proud woman Jiaoshi. Being an ordinary universe master, I doubt your powers will be able to obstruct us. But it would be best that you are kept from us. Jian Wushuang muttered and flicked wrist again. A hulking figure emerged out of thin air into view. Keep her occupied so that she cannot be in our way, Fui. It would be better too if you can take her alive. Jian Wushuang commanded him. Jian Wushuang had made such arrangements as a precautionary measure. In the event of failure they might still be able to wring answers out of Jiaoshi. She might be in possession of the knowledge to remove the grand formation, seeing as she was the conjurer of the grand formation. Fu Yi's eyes twinkled once as he acknowledged Jian Wushuang's order. A huge battle axe appeared in his grasp as he pounced at Jiaoshi. So you lot have come to destroy the Grand Formation, and you have brought along a puppet fighter which is strong enough to fight against Lord Jinfeng. But your efforts will all be for naught no matter how hard you try. Jiushi smiled wickedly to herself. Seeing as Fu Yi came charging at her, she drifted into the undulations of the churning energies rolling around the vortex. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.